What's up, everybody? Welcome into the Real Fantasy Studios here on CSN. I'm Sebastian Salazar, and we have a ton to get to ahead of Week 5. 4 teams on bye, including New Orleans, so one of our favorite defenses to pick on from a fantasy perspective, not at our disposal. But that's okay, because we got an army of insiders across the country, and they'll help us find some other areas of opportunity this week. The insiders are the dessert here on Real Fantasy. The main course, however, are two of the absolute best. Kay Adams, catcher on weekday mornings on the NFL Network, on Twitter as well at Hey Kay Adams, and Josh Norris of NBC Sports and Roto World, far less creative on Twitter at Josh Norris. All right, guys, let's get this thing going with our quick hits as we do every week here on Real Fantasy. No quick hit bigger than up in New England, where the nightmare is over for Patriots fans and Tom Brady owners, and just beginning for the rest of the AFC. Tom Brady back from a 4-game suspension, so Gronk and Julian Edelman owners are happy, and if you had the foresight to stash Brady, you're really, really, really happy. All right, guys, the domino effect with Brady returning huge. First off, I got to imagine he slides right in as a starter, especially this week against the Browns. But Josh, looking at the rest of New England's roster, who do you think benefits the most from Brady's return?
Well, one, I think everyone is helped, but let's look at some specifics. Julian Edelman is absolutely going to eat this week against the Cleveland Browns. The Browns have given up top 12 wide receiver numbers to Jarvis Landry and Jordan Matthews, who both happen to be slot receivers who dominate the intermediate levels of the field. So Julian Edelman will do exactly the same thing. And then later on, I think Rob Gronkowski will be helped as well. He went from 22% snaps plays to 67%. I still think rather than quarterback play, it's his hamstring that's hampered him. But when he does get healthy, look for Rob Gronkowski to get back to his peak form as well.
All the pass catchers, Sebastian, are helped. This is a team that is right now ranked last in the league in pass attempts. That's going to flip right around when Brady is back. Week 5 against the Browns, it couldn't set up better for those pass catchers. You mentioned them all, but sneaky, Chris Hogan might benefit the most because he's been virtually invisible through 4 weeks, not getting any love. They don't call him 7-Eleven for nothing, Josh. This guy is a new weapon that showed a lot of rapport. I kept my eye on it very closely all offseason. He showed a lot of rapport with Brady when he was available to be out there on the field with his teammates, and he's a big new weapon, a new toy alongside Martellus Bennett. The other sneaky guy that you might want to add, not start, but add, is James White. I don't see Brady taking the foot off of the pedal. I think he's going to light it up week in, week out, and James White will be more involved.
Yeah, an angry Tom Brady. Yikes. Let's stick with the Patriots, Kay, because last week you said sell high on LeGarrette Blount, and you got a lot of pushback on this show from Josh.
Yes.
And you're pretty right? Because Blount is coming off his worst game of the season. But with Brady now returning, Kay, are you still sure you want to unload Blount?
Absolutely. If you're talking about guys that are not getting upticks, guys that are trending downwards, it's LeGarrette Blount. Through the first 3 weeks of the season, he's averaging 25 carries a game. Like I said, the Patriots bottom of the barrel in pass attempts. That's not going to keep up. That's not going to be sustainable. Now, trading him away, you are getting rid of touchdowns. I understand that.
Yes,
I understand game script that he will be at the goal line. But I'm also trading away a headache. I really am, because the volume, the consistency will not be there. Only once all of last season did LeGarrette Blount have 20 carries or more. Only once. You're going to have James White there. You got Hogan, Martellus Bennett. We don't have enough minutes in the show to mention all the weapons that Brady has at his disposal.
James White will be used when the team is down on the scoreboard. I doubt this team will be down the scoreboard very often with Tom Brady back. LeGarrette Blount, Kay, you mentioned it. If you're trading LeGarrette Blount, you're trading away touchdowns. In 21 of his 26 games, he's had 21 touchdowns. Like, what is happening here? And against the Cleveland Browns this week, who the Patriots are favored by 8 points, in those games, LeGarrette Blount has averaged 13 points. Again, this is a week to play LeGarrette Blount. I don't care if James White's more involved, if Martellus Bennett is involved, whatever. LeGarrette Blount is going to be set up for more touchdown options and scoring possibilities, and it's going to start again this week with Tom Brady and LeGarrette Blount.
All right, guys, the resident Bills fan has to put an end to the Patriots talk. And look, as an NFL fan, the Patriots definitely not one of these teams, but some teams are kind of easy to forget. The Tennessee Titans might be one of those groups. What's impossible to overlook is what DeMarco Murray is doing this season down in Nashville. Murray's been Mr. Consistency, averaging a shade under 20 fantasy points per game. And in your PPR leagues, he's your #1 ranked running back. So lots to go over here. And Kay, I want to start with you on this one. The preseason magazine that I use had Murray ranked as the 29th best running back, just behind TJ Yeldon. I'm not going to name the publication because I don't want to get anybody in trouble. But Kay, first, did you see this coming, and can Murray keep it up?
I didn't see it coming, but I'm not surprised. Remember, he's just 1 year removed from that 2,000-plus total yard season. He's the only running back in the league that has 2 or more rushing and receiving touchdowns on the year. He's been top 10 every week this season. And the reason that I didn't expect it is because I was buying into the exotic smash mouth that was the tandem between him and Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry, Bueller, where have you been? He's not on the field, and I don't see that changing. There's a lot of other running backs that I'd rather have and add onto my bench because as long as DeMarco Murray continues at this clip, there's no way Henry's seeing the field.
Yeah, 2 things here. One, obviously DeMarco Murray is amazing, and if you're just looking at his PPR numbers as a wide receiver, he has the same points as Brandon Marshall. And also add on all those rushing statistics as well. The thing with Derrick Henry, though, Kay, is and I try to ask myself this every single year, right? I did the same thing with David Johnson. If someone gets a chance as the lead ball carrier in an offense, can they be a championship winner? Can they be a league winner? And I think Derrick Henry has the possibility to be that because he has the talent to do it and the potential work share to do it. Obviously, an injury has to happen, but I don't think that there's more talented players on the waiver wire. And I'd say the same thing about Bilal Powell with the Jets. I think both of these guys, if they get the opportunity, can be championship winners in your fantasy league.
I don't disagree with you with what we saw throughout the preseason, but he's only had 3 touches through this season. 3 touches, Josh. So I like what you're saying. If you're in a very deep league and he's on your bench, I'm fine with that. But I'm looking at the running backs that are owned in less than 20% of leagues right now. Wendell Smallwood, Kenneth Dixon, Chris Thompson, all guys that I would add rather than Derrick Henry.
All right, I like the smaller names, guys, but let's talk some big names now, because every year in fantasy there are disappointments and busts. But not many people would have bet on Odell Beckham Jr. ending up in either of those categories this year. OBJ went 2nd, maybe 3rd overall in a lot of drafts, and right now he's 3rd among the Giants wide receivers in total points, 37th among all wideouts. Yikes, not very good for OBJ. Josh, the targets are still there for Beckham. He's top 10 in targets among wide receivers, so it's not lack of opportunities. What's going on in New York?
It's honestly everything but the touchdowns. He doesn't have the 3 touchdowns he had at this point last year, but Kay, he only has 2 fewer receptions and 4 fewer receiving yards than at this point last year with Odell Beckham on the Giants. And here's the thing, it's gonna happen this week against the Packers. It's on like Donkey Kong, right?
I mean, you literally took every word that I had on this topic out of my mouth. The difference in yards, 4. The difference in touchdowns, what is it, 3? Right. It's interesting because the perspective is changing because the sky is falling, right? He's fighting with nets on the sideline. This is your time. You go to that Odell Beckham Jr. owner and you say, I will take him off of your hands. He's doing nothing. He's not having fun anymore on the field. He's going to score a touchdown. This is the week.
As always, a great start from Kay and Josh. We'll hear from them a little bit later on in the show. But right now, let's head to Philadelphia, where Carson Wentz is all the rage, but fantasy owners are raging about the Eagles' backfield. Too many options to keep track of. So we called on CSN Philadelphia's Derek Gunn to sort it all out and kick off this week's edition of the Cheat Sheet.
While many teams in the NFL have a so-called workhorse, the Eagles have decided to go with the 4 horsemen. Before the season began, Doug Peterson said he liked the skill set of each one of his running backs and thought they would be a perfect fit for his offense, and so far that has been true to form. Now, as expected, Ryan Matthews has had the most carries with 33. Then it's the rookie Wendell Smallwood with 20 carries, followed by the 12-year vet Darren Sproles with 19. Now, third-year vet Kenyon Barner has the least amount of touches at 14, but he has the best overall yards per carry average among the 4 at 6.1. If this is indeed the ground game blueprint, well, the only thing we know for sure is we don't know who's going to get the most touches week in and week out.
Okay, not far from Philly, Baltimore had a similar backfield problem to begin this season, but it's starting to sort itself out. Justin Forsett has been released, and Buck Allen has a grand total of 3 carries. So it's basically down to 2 guys in Baltimore. Our guy, Clifton Brown of CSN Mid-Atlantic, has the latest.
If you're a fantasy owner who played Terrence West in Week 4, you made a good move. West had his best game as a pro against the Raiders, 21 carries for 113 yards. So should you stick with West again in Week 5 when the Ravens play the Redskins? You bet. Even if Kenneth Dixon comes back and plays his first game recovering from a knee injury, I believe West is going to be the guy for the Ravens until further notice. He had wanted to get more carries, and he proved that the more he got, the more effective he can be. So if you have Terrence West in your fantasy league, stick with him for at least another week. Until he proves otherwise, he's the man at running back for the Ravens right now.
All right, from Terrence West to Terrence Williams, the Cowboys wideout, one of the more popular waiver ads this week after a big game against San Francisco. But we don't know if Dak Prescott will keep targeting him. Newey Scruggs of NBC5 Dallas-Fort Worth has that answer.
If you picked up Terrence Williams for your fantasy football team, let me warn you this. He can frustrate you. All right, Terrence Williams is the guy who could catch 2 touchdown passes. He's also the guy that can drop a touchdown pass and have it bounce right off the number 83. He's just that kind of player. Now, last week against San Francisco had his highest target total of the season. They are not having Dak Prescott throw the football down the field very much. Jason Witten and Cole Beasley are going to get a majority of the target. So at best, I think Terrence Williams will be the 3rd guy targeted this week against the Bengals. So if you've got Terrence Williams, good luck. It could be a frustrating day, or it could be a great day.
All right, thanks to all our insiders keeping us up to date across the NFL. Next up, we head to Facebook to take your questions, propose trades, who to start and who to sit. Kay and Josh have your back. That, plus Steve Smith has just 1 touchdown this season for the Ravens, but Kay Adams likes him as a daily fantasy play this week. See who else she's picking when Real Fantasy continues here on CSN. Welcome back to Real Fantasy. I'm Sebastian Salazar, and by now you know the drill. Every Thursday at 2:45 p.m. Eastern Time, Kay Adams, Josh Norris, and I go live on Facebook to answer your questions. Couldn't be easier to get involved. Just make sure you're following your local CSN Facebook page, and then make sure to log on every Thursday afternoon with your questions. Here are the best from this week's session. Josh, how quickly do you think Tom Brady gets back up to 2015 productivity?
Oh, immediately. I mean, this Cleveland Browns defense is not good, and I would expect every single person in this offense to improve or to benefit from Tom Brady's return. You might have mentioned, obviously, the matchups coming up, but we saw what the Patriots did in the first 4 weeks of the season with Jimmy Garoppolo and Jacoby Brissett going 3-1. So I've got no issues with Tom Brady moving forward.
Rust schmust. That's what I say. He's going to come out. He was ready in 2015 for this Week 5 showdown at Cleveland. He's ready to go. Josh, where do you stand on the Matt Ryan against the Broncos discussion?
I mean, look, and I know that you're a very matchup-dependent person, which I think is great, and you like to make bold calls, which is great, but I think a lot of people who have been playing Matt Ryan probably aren't going to bench him just based on what he has done.
How is that a bold
weeks.
call?
Because look at what he's the #1 quarterback in fantasy football right now.
Okay, but look at what the who haven't the Broncos shut down? Riddle me that.
Cam Newton.
No, they faced Cam twice and they held him. And
Yeah,
Matt Ryan's
but
not
Cam Newton had quite a good game in Week 1.
All right. Matt Ryan's not Cam Newton. Tevin Coleman
No, he's not.
will be limited.
And Cam had a rushing
probably.
touchdown in that first game, I believe. I believe
Cam Newton's not walking through that door.
This season, they've allowed 2 passing touchdowns and 4 interceptions to every quarterback they face combined. That's Cam, Luck, Dalton, Winston. I rest my case. That is not a bold prediction to not play Matt Ryan in favor of somebody. I'll go a little spicy for you, Josh Norris, in favor of Brian Hoyer. That's right. I play Brian Hoyer over Matt Ryan. Boom, bang, I said it.
Brian
I thought you were going to throw
Hoyer.
out a Carson Wentz name out there. But look, I mean, Kate, no matter what, if you're benching the #1 scorer at a position, it is bold. And I'm giving you credit here. I'm not taking anything away. I'm just saying that it's amazing that we're benching the #1 quarterback because of a defense. And that's how good the Broncos defense
Sebastian,
is.
is anybody on Facebook saying anything about this discussion?
They're all yelling at you guys to move on. Michael wants to know about DeAndre Washington. DeAndre Washington is coming up a ton right now on Facebook. I think he's like $4,700 on your daily fantasy. That's a really good value, but will he actually produce, Kay?
I think so. I mean, if you're talking about production, even with a limited workload, correct me if I'm wrong, Josh Norris, he's averaging 6.4 yards a carry. Latavius Murray struggling to stay healthy, struggling to keep the feature role. He's not looked good even healthy at several points in this season. I like DeAndre Washington in this one. Jalen Richard's interesting too.
Look, fantasy is all about choices, and I had a pretty tough one this week when it came to the quarterback slot on my daily team. To Rivers or to Carr? Josh, Kay, and I are back with our DFS squads next on Real Fantasy. All right, glad to have you back with us here on Real Fantasy. I'm Sebastian Salazar, and this is our fantasy formula, where we focus on the daily games. And no matter where you're getting your DFS fix, we're going to help you put together the best daily team possible here in Week 5. But first, let's take a look at how we did with our own picks in Week 4, quickly becoming my favorite part of the show. Here's why: a three-peat for your boy. 3 weeks in a row, I finished on top. I rode Jordan Reed and Isaiah Crowell to a win big on that Cleveland-Washington matchup. Melvin Gordon and Will Fuller helping Josh to a second-place finish again. Matt Stafford and the Pats defense cost him. And after winning Week 1, Kay bringing up the rear again, third straight week. She has Steven Gostkowski, Mike Wallace, and LeGarrette Blount to blame for that. Guys, that's not how this is supposed to go, and it's going to get out of hand really quick unless one of y'all beats me. Can you explain what's going on here?
Sebastian, at some point, I don't know how many of these in second place I have to get before I start wearing a silver medal. I mean, at some point during the segment, just don me with this second place finisher all season long.
Josh, you're comfortable in the land of vanilla granola mediocrity. That's fine.
Wow.
I try to help the people watching this show, not by showing them what not to do, which is what I've been doing so far, but I'm not good at building these daily lineups because I just want to fill them up with sleepers. I like the sale. I like the sale. I like going to the mall and hitting the sale rack and picking the bargain basement guys, and that's pretty much what I build my entire roster with.
And Kay, we're going to see that in your team this week because you spent big on a couple guys, namely Antonio Brown, also Michael Crabtree, Steve Smith at receiver. You got Zach Ertz at tight end. But you're not stacking this week. Eli Manning, your QB. And we should also note that of the $60,000 you had, $800 were left over. That's a little bit unusual, so saving some money there.
Confident.
All right, Josh said a little earlier in the show he's not worried about Odell Beckham, and he's proven it by putting him on the Norris squad this week. He joins Jordy Nelson and Julian Edelman at wideout. Big Ben going to be Josh's quarterback this week. He'll also save some money by going with the Titans defense. And for your soon-to-be four-time defending champion team, let's give me Derek Carr, and I'll take Crabtree as well against San Diego. I'm also sticking with Melvin Gordon and Travis Benjamin in Oakland. I love that matchup. And I'll lean on Jordan Reed for the second straight week. I believe big time in Terrence West. Actually, I really believe big time in the terrible Redskins run defense that West is facing. All right, Kay, let's start with a wideout who had a huge Week 4. 3 touchdowns for Michael Crabtree. Charlie Casserly on our show last week said that Crabtree was strictly a number 2, but he's playing like a number 1.
No, he's been crushing it. He has 4 receiving touchdowns on the season. He's perfect in the red zone. Derek Carr isn't really making any mistakes. Crabtree is the guy in another great matchup going against the Chargers, who just lost Jason Verrett. You couldn't write a better story here. Amari Cooper struggling to find the end zone, really. I mean, come on. 37 targets this season, the most on the team. He is the number 1.
All right, Josh, I want to look at your team here and specifically your backfield. Not the usual cast of characters. You got Jordan Howard and Jerick McKinnon. Did you like the players, the matchups, or the values?
The workload, we like the volume. 91% of snaps Jordan Howard played last week, and obviously he's going against the Colts this week, 7,200. Great value. And Jerick McKinnon, in my opinion, is an absolute must-play. The lowest total that the Texans have allowed for a running back this year is running back 21. 70% of the carries over the last 2 weeks for Jerick McKinnon. Look, you can pay a little cheaper. Don't have to go after those huge big dogs and those huge big salaries. Pay a little bit less. Go with Howard and McKinnon, and it's going to pay off this week with a gold medal. No more silvers for me.
I don't know about that, Josh. You got to get past my team first. Let's look at my team a little bit here. The matchup that really caught my eye is San Diego and Oakland. We mentioned Michael Crabtree. I chose him over Amari Cooper. They weren't separated by that much in terms of daily fantasy value. And I had another tough decision to make in Derek Carr or Phillip Rivers. I chose Carr. Did I make the right move, guys?
Yes, of course you did. I trust him a little bit more. He's got better weapons, a better matchup, really.
When in doubt, take the home favorite, and the Raiders are the best in the red zone, converting 10 of 11 trips for touchdowns.
All right, I would say your opinions give me confidence, but since I'm winning, I don't really think that that's how it works
Yeah, why
anymore.
are you even asking us, Sebastian?
All right, time now to look into the crystal ball for this upcoming weekend. And look, no one predicted what Matt Ryan was going to do last Sunday against the Panthers. 503 yards in the air, 300 of them to Julio Jones. The Falcons QB continues to surprise. He's the #1 scorer in all of fantasy right now. So, guys, we expected Matt Ryan to slow down a little bit last week. Didn't happen. Now he goes on the road in Denver. It's the unstoppable object against the unmovable force. So we're going to set Ryan's over-under at, say, 20 points against the Broncos. Josh, you're up.
I'm under. In fact, it's amazing to me because Matt Ryan has never finished better than a quarterback 7. But the Broncos this week have only allowed 4 quarterback 1 type performances in their last 20 games. I don't think Matt Ryan does it this week.
This is so, you could have set this at 15, and I might take the under on this one. They've allowed 2 passing touchdowns and 4 interceptions all season long at the quarterback spot. And that's not, your backup quarterbacks. That's Cam, that's Luck, that's Dalton, that's Winston. No thanks. I'd rather play Brian Hoyer.
All right, let's dive into the flex position next. And if you need a receiver, who's going to be? Let's start with Kate.
I mentioned Brian Hoyer, so I might as well keep that Bears trend going. I like Eddie Royal. Kevin White is out. Eddie Royal, he looks like he's 25 out there. He missed last season. He was banged up, or he missed a lot of last season. But he is clicking. He's got 2 touchdowns so far. He had over 90 with Cutler back in Denver, so that's why I liked him when he came to the Bears. But he clearly has a rapport with Hoyer as well. Zach Miller banged up. He might not play. This is going to be the Royale with cheese show, guys.
Okay, and to steal a line from you, I'm going to go with Devontae Parker against the Titans, but against Parrish Cox, who is gift wrapping fantasy points to wide receivers. I think Devontae Parker has an outstanding week, and as does Jarvis Landry. And I think Devontae Parker is a must-play in flex positions.
Hey guys, real quick, we try to get to this every week. Give me some streaming defenses. We got a ton of buys this week, so give me some streaming defenses for week 5, okay?
I'm going to go with the Steelers. They have the Jets. Ryan Fitzpatrick, 9 interceptions in the last 2 games. Play them.
While I just said Devontae Parker's a must-play, I'm going to go with the Titans defense. I think they get some sacks, some turnovers on Ryan Tannehill, and try to keep the ball in offense with DeMarco Murray and maybe a little bit of Derrick Henry sprinkled in.
Don't forget to join us every Thursday around 2:45 in the afternoon for Facebook Live. You can get your questions into the show then. For Kay Adams and Josh Norris, I'm Sebastian Salazar. Thanks for watching, and as always, good luck in Week 5.